Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about what's going on with the FTC. This is a little bit of a parallel topic, but it's important for people to understand. So the FTC has engaged in a rulemaking process. They're going from guidelines to rules, and they're engaged in that process. And what are we likely to see when the rules are formulated? Either one of you.
So just so people understand, a rule is a more limited set of conditions that allow the FTC to immediately impose a fine when somebody breaks it, unlike the guidelines, which require
Which is a voluntary.
Well, it's a voluntary compliance and requires judicial agreement for the FTC to, place a fine. So in this new rule set, they're going after buyers and sellers of fake reviews and fake social recognition,
endorsements, and
fake
testimonials.
Followers. Right. So they're focusing very heavily on buyers and sellers of fake reviews and making it quite clear that those behaviors are against the rule. And with this rule in place, it will make it much easier to impose significant fines against people who cheat on reviews.
So they can't go after Google, they can't go after Yelp, they can't go after any of the platforms because of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, but they can go after third-party vendors, software vendors, and they can go after companies that sell fake reviews or negative reviews, and they can go after the businesses that are engaged in purchasing them or disseminating them. But
which is also largely is going to be ineffective because they still allow incentives. And as we know, incentives are a huge contributor to inflated reviews, which is as big of a problem as fake reviews. And it also doesn't really bring Amazon and Google's to heel. I mean, the bulk of the problem is on Amazon and Google. Those guys are largely immune. I do believe that Google responded last year to sort of bully pulpit type communications from the FTC, which is why they've upped their review game. But they're still largely going to be functioning without significant oversight. And I don't know that the rules will solve much.
Curtis, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, there's some language that I really like in the last ANPR that was drafted in August 29th. And
ANPR stands for?
Oh, it's basically a request for public comments. It's
on the rule.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
From the FTC.
That's correct. Yeah. So the FTC published their second ANPR on August 29th, and there's some language on there that I really liked about how a business owner should have known about their own fake reviews. It should help to increase accountability for businesses to, just like Mike said, be accountable for every single review that comes in. When you can't say anymore, oh, I didn't know I had fake reviews. I didn't know we had fake reviews. This new rule will help enforce that every single review that you have online for your business is a part of your online advertising. It's part of your online marketing. And now you are liable. You are accountable for making sure your own reviews are legitimate. So there's also some other language in there that I really like. Unfortunately, it appears big tech isn't going to be held accountable for anything, including their own moderation policies. But at least the FTC will have the means to start imposing fines against businesses directly. And at the end of the day, I think that's really what matters, because right now the equation is fake reviews, fake positive reviews equals more sales, more money, right? And when that equation changes because of these fines to fake reviews equals fees, fake reviews equals bad press, bad publicity, that's when we see systemic change. And that's when we see the incidence of fake reviews going down. So hopefully it can work.
A related problem that most SEOs probably listening to this and most agencies listening to this podcast will already know about, but is important to mention, is the end of review gating. I believe it was earlier this year, it could have been last year, the FTC said no more review gating, meaning no more different treatment of positive and negative reviews. And a company called Hey Dude, which is a subsidiary of Crocs, the shoe company, just got spanked because they had an internal policy. They were working with a third-party platform, and they had an internal policy of publishing 4 and 5-star reviews on their website and holding back reviews that were less favorable than that, and treating those differently. And that's now a complete no-no. And they were fined almost $2 million by the FTC, plus all the bad publicity, which may or may not impact their sales.
Oh, a couple subtle things there. They were fined under rules against false advertising because they claimed that consumers would have 2-day delivery. The FTC says if you claim that, you have to either provide it or give instant refunds. They didn't. So the actual fine came under the rule of false advertising. In addition, they were caught not publishing all of their reviews, which is slightly different than gating. But that's under the guideline. And the FTC, because they were able to impose a fine under the rule, didn't take that gating issue through the full penalty processes. So while they did, it was something these guys were going to be held accountable for. Ultimately, the payment for the violation of advertising is what sort of resolved the whole thing, plus their agreement that they would stop selective publishing of positive reviews.
But the larger point of
the larger point holds. This is a
the larger point, and it's very important whether you're talking about your own website or whether you're talking about distributing reviews to third parties, selectively asking for reviews. You cannot treat positive and negative reviews differently now. You have to be neutral on that topic. Anything
not just asking on moderation and publishing as well, right? So there's 3 aspects. When you ask, you can't favor. When you moderate, you can't favor. And when you publish, you can't favor. So there's 3 places where you could be violating this favoring positive reviews over negatives. You can't do it in any of those.
And there are a lot of business owners who are probably engaged in some version of that are unaware that they're in violation, and they may be quite innocent. But this is really something that their agencies and their technology companies working with them really need to be aware of and help enforce, because it could get them into trouble depending upon their visibility.
Both the business and the agency now are targeted by the new guidelines.
Yes.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.